Movement. Got movement. Got movement. Keep your hand off the gun. Sir. Put your hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Sir, don't touch the gun. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Put your hand off the gun. Hands up. Shoot you. Don't touch the gun! Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Get your hand off the gun! Hands up!
Let's put up the picture, full mass. Washington, D.C. police said they shot and killed Mr. Justin Robinson because he grabbed hold of an officer's gun. Let me just stop there for a moment. The man was asleep, okay? He was startled. You don't need to be a forensic psychologist here to understand that someone who has been aroused out of their sleep with a gun in their face, that their instinctive reaction, which basically is akin to sleepwalking, their instinctive reaction immediately is to operate in a way, to respond in a way that is congruent to preservation of their own life, to grab the gun that's in front of their face. This person doesn't see any police officers. He was asleep. He sees a gun. Put the picture back up. Look at the way this officer came down on him as if he had committed some kind of active felony. This was a pursuit. This man was asleep. He was inside his car. This car had crashed into the side of a McDonald's earlier in the month, but the body camera video released Monday by the Metropolitan Police Department shows the officer sticking his gun into the driver's side window, telling Robinson, quote, "I'll shoot you in the effing face," before Robinson grabs hold of the barrel of the gun in what appears to be an attempt to avoid getting shot in the effing face. But that cop and the second cop fired more than 10 times, killing the 26-year-old black man who was employed as a violence interrupter for Cure the Streets, according to Washington Post. Cure the Streets is a public safety program launched by the city's Attorney General's office, quote, aimed at reducing gun violence. That's according to the Attorney General's website. There's more. Now, Robinson's family has now retained an attorney. Quote, he woke up to a firearm inches from his face. He had a natural inclination to move the firearm away, Burrell wrote in a text message Tuesday morning to the Washington Post. MPD officers began discharging their weapons and continued to fire upon Justin even after they backed up out of his reach. What happened to Justin is not de-escalation. It wasn't proportional, and it was not reasonable. It was brutality. Robinson's sister, Trelicia, said, also questioned the officer's tactics. Quote, he said, "I'll shoot you in the effing face." He was rolling down the window. Why did you place the gun in the window and tell him that? This is what she said to WUSA 9 local news. We have a similar situation. Remember? Just a few weeks ago, really, we had a cop go inside the house of a young woman. She called the police, thought it was an intruder. He then says what he's about to do and proceeds to do it, to shoot her as well. No aid rendered. If you thought that was slowly waking up, all of these things leading up to his death could have been prevented. The two officers who opened fire have been identified as Vasco Matias and Brian Gilchrist. They have both been placed on paid administrative leave while they are investigated by the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C., according to the Washington Post. The two 18-minute body camera videos released by the Metropolitan Police Department on Monday are from the cameras worn by the two officers. But we have edited down the footage from both cameras and slowed down the footage of the shooting from both cameras to allow viewers to better determine what took place that night, which you can view and have viewed. The shooting took place shortly after 5:30 a.m. September 1st, when police responded to a call of a car that had crashed into the side of a McDonald's with an unresponsive man in the driver's seat. When police arrived, they spotted a gun on Robinson's lap and spent several minutes strategizing on how to remove the gun from his lap. They also parked their vehicles in front of his car and behind his car to block any attempt of Robinson to flee. Several officers then surrounded his car from both sides with their guns drawn, with one officer warning the others about potential crossfire and another officer advising them to aim down to avoid shooting each other. They were already planning to shoot. But not once did they attempt to arouse him from his sleep, likely because they feared he would shoot them, according to the narrative. It was not until about 10 minutes after they pulled up to the scene that Robinson started to wake up. Quote, "Movement, I've got movement," an officer announced as he approached the driver's side window with his gun drawn. Several cops then began surrounding the car with their guns drawn, yelling, "Hands up!" Robinson rolled down his window, which prompted Officer Gilchrist to stick his gun inside the car, telling him he would shoot him in the effing face. For what? For what? For what reason? For sleeping? For allegedly being involved in a motor vehicle fender bender with no other individual harmed? Because he may have had a constitutional weapon on him. You have a constitutional right to bear arms. Or did you make the assumption that this was simply a criminal? This individual's life was not worth the value of you following proper protocol for your department? Did you already surmise what you were going to do prior to doing it? You had no idea that he was an employee for an outfit dedicated to eradicating gun violence. And interestingly enough, the irony of this is he was on the side of peace. He was on the side of decency, trying to be part of the solution. Robinson grabs the gun and appears to push it away from his face as anybody would do, which is when the officer then fires 10 shots, followed by a single shot from Mateus. The two officers are now under criminal investigation. The incident has led to protests against police, as well as hashtag Justice for Justin on social media platform X, allowing commenters to express their outrage over, quote, another innocent, black man killed by the police. All he was doing was sleeping in his car. He wasn't even given a chance to fully awaken before cops shot him 13 times and killed him. One person responded on X. Over 10 shots for one unconscious person is insane. Get these trigger-happy officers off the streets. Police so panicky, they don't even know how to de-escalate a situation without killing someone. Another person wrote a similar incident took place last year when Washington D.C. police officer Enid Jeverick shot and killed a 27-year-old black male named Antoine Gilmore, who was found sleeping in his car with a gun in his waistband. On August 29th, 3 days before the Robinson shooting, Jeverick was sentenced to 5 years in prison for second-degree murder. So those cops are now under criminal investigation. I look forward to their criminal indictment. This individual obviously should not have been shot at nor killed. This never should have happened with proper police protocols in place. But once again, what happens? Doesn't matter what it says in writing, doesn't matter what the policy is. It matters what the culture is. Culture eats policy alive every day of the week. Wosny, it's a sad situation. And listen, he has a constitutional right to bear arms. So if you see a weapon on him, you cannot assume based on law that somehow this is an illegal thing. He was just asleep. What's the issue? Why do you have so many cops here to block his vehicle, to talk about how they're going to shoot him when they start shooting? Why the criminal assumption immediately rather than, man, there's a guy who's asleep and possibly in need of assistance?
Yeah, it's insane to actually watch the video as we watch the lead up to the altercation or interaction with the victim here. They didn't go up there calm, cool, and collected. These guys went up there like they were some freaking cowboys, and it was high noon. That was the approach that they chose to take. And unsurprisingly, they startled the hell out of the guy who was sitting in his car alone, didn't seem like an immediate threat to anybody, sleeping in a car with a gun on his lap. And, you know, quite frankly, a lot of people don't know this about DC, but it's pretty dangerous. I'm not surprised that this guy, if he was to be asleep in his car to maybe avoid a robbery or something worse, had his gun on his lap for just in case something horrible might happen. Like, there's a lot of crime in DC. And the fact that the cops just went up there with all the hostility and just like, I don't know what part of the game this is, Dr. Richey, where the protocol is to stick the gun directly in a guy's face. That's kind of the point of a gun, that you don't have to be within arm's length of somebody to do what guns can do. And so it just seems like just incompetence all up and down this thing.
Yeah, absolutely correct. You make a great point about proximity and the reason why cops have guns in the first place. And the young man who was shot and killed in this incident, he had his gun where it was supposed to be, which was in a non-concealed place, showing that he clearly was armed. All right, we'll bring you updates. Updates will come.